top U.S. companies admit to hiking prices to pad their profits. You know, one of the things in politics, right? If you take a look at how they attack Biden or attack Obama or even attack Bush or whatever, if prices are out of control, we attack these presidents as not creating the environment conducive to have to keep stable prices and to have as full of employment as possible. Well, since the epidemic has been over, we have seen employment, but not only employment, but the increase in wages that have exceeded what the inflation rate is. So companies, they're doing so well that they are in a continuously hiring frenzy. I don't know if you've been to a restaurant lately and noticed that there are a lot of empty tables because there are lines outside waiting for people to seat people, but there are empty tables in the restaurant. And why is that again? Because they don't have enough employees. You go to stores, you find out there are not a lot of employees. And the idea they don't have a lot of employees because of two reasons. A lot of people are employed. We have the best employment picture in more than 50 years. And the other reason is that corporations are not paying the wages that make people want to come and work. So people make the fiscal decisions in their lives, right? If I can make more money than staying home, that's what I do. If corporations can make more money than taking a government grant, they don't take the government grant, they go ahead and make the money. If they need the government grant to have a more profitable picture, that's what they do. It so happened that when people make that decision, they look at them and say, welfare queen or whatever. I tell you, sometimes taking welfare, and by the way, I've worked all my life, so I'm not saying this out of self anything, okay? But some people, based on what the market is going to pay them, meaning corporations are going to pay them, they make the calculated decision that if I have to go out to work, take a bus, find daycare for my kids, XYZ, it may be more advantageous for me to be on government assistance. And people say, that's embarrassing, that is wrong, etc. Well, companies do it all the time, right? Corporations, rich people, they look at their fiscal position and they say, if I do XYZ, I can get a tax cut here, I can get a tax stipend there. But we make that not something that people are embarrassed about. When corporations get a check written by the U.S. government, we the people, corporations never get embarrassed. But when we the people, somebody says, well, if I go out and work for that ice cream shop for $7.25, my rent is $800 a month. I know I have people that, where the hell would you get a rent for $800? But my rent is $800 a month. I have to get the bus fare to get to that job. I have to find someone to take care of my kids, etc. By the time I'm done with that, I'm not making any money. I am just going to work because there's not a living wage being paid. But if I stay home, I can get XYZ in food stamps. I can get XYZ food from the food bank. I can do all these other things that cost me less. It's a fiscal decision that people make to do that. When we start looking at money, employment, and things. Now, I'm not talking about that lazy person that just wants to sit at the corner of the street with a bottle of rum or so. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a family making a fiscal decision like corporations make a fiscal decision. Now, why am I bringing that up? Corporations have made a fiscal decision to constantly give price increases to shareholders. The people who own stocks in companies are passive investors in a company. The workers for a company are active investors in a company. The financial papers won't say that way, but the workers of that company are active investors in that company. They invest their work, their worth, their intellect. They invest everything of their being into making that company successful. The executives of that company are the ones who work for the shareholders who do, in general, nothing for that company other than having bought a stock, a piece of paper that says when that company's books ends at the end of the year, everything that they make in excess of the expenses to pay their workers, the price of their products, incidentals, it's mine in the form of a dividend or the cost or the price of the appreciation of that stock. Meaning if that stock, I bought it at $10 and it costs, and people can buy it now for $20, that's mine, the investor. I do nothing for that work, but because I am the investor and we are a special class in this country, I will make money no matter what. Okay? Yeah, people will say, well, stock drops sometimes. I know, but the average direction of the market is about 7 to 8% growth every year. That's just how they've made it. They talk about it being the market. There ain't no market, but let's play the market game. Okay? So that worker invested in that company. It's trying to sell their labor, but when there is a monopoly owned by a corporation, right, which is what we've always had, even in times when there's unemployment, as we'll see, corporations continuously say, well, we'll pay the employee the least we can. We will buy the products from the vendor, from the farmer. You know, farmers have a tendency to be Republican. I always wonder why, when the idea behind what corporations do is to minimize their cost, and maximize their profits, which means when that farmer creates a bushel of corn, the idea is that corporations, the people that in general Republicans and corporate Democrats work for, what they do is they say, we are going to pay the least amount for that barrel of corn we can, shortchanging the farmers. Yet for some reason of psychological impairment, farmers have a tendency to say, we like the conservatives, that they're doing good stuff for us. Okay? So now let's continue. So as it turns out, the folks who control the price that you are going to pay for something or what you are going to work for has very little to do with you and everything to do with the control the corporations have on this purported, what I call mythical market. So what is the deal? Top U.S. companies admit to hiking prices to pad their profits. An analyst released Tuesday and this is from Common Dreams. An analysis released Tuesday shows that executives at some of the top publicly traded companies in the United States aren't exactly being coy about using their pricing power to hike costs for consumers and boost revenues and profits, which are then dished out to wealthy shareholders. So they see, we can increase the prices and people are going to still buy, which means our shareholders make more money, which means more bonuses for our executives. Because they can. They can increase the price of eggs because you're going to still have to buy it. The progressive watchdog group Accountable US noted in the new report that some of the largest general consumer Standard & Poor's 500 companies have admitted to benefiting from increased prices as their net profits increased year over year, and they rewarded shareholders with billions of dollars in handouts. Okay, let's stop from that paragraph and explain that. The corporate executives that figure out, let's tweak the price up a little higher, because if we tweak the price up a little higher, that means billions of dollars as the millions of Americans buy eggs. That means all that extra amount of money that the egg costs goes into the coffers of the shareholders and the executives. Remember, inflation is simply the increase in price from what it was before. Now, if the raw material costs more, that price increase is justified because the shareholders in general, they'll still make a little bit of money, same amount of money. And the only increase in price is a fixed cost. That which, if the eggs had costs more, then it's okay to increase the price of eggs. If the oil had costs more, then it is okay to increase the price of gasoline and petroleum products. But guess what, people? Even during the pandemic, the oil prices crashed. After the pandemic, the oil prices stabilized at a very low level, so much so that Saudi Arabia said they were taking 1 million barrels of oil, 2 million barrels of oil off the market earlier last year. And then they decided to take away another million that they just announced last week. which tells you there should be no increase in prices in petroleum, gasoline, or anything. We're looking at a false market. The price that you're paying for gasoline is the price that the market will bear. In other words, we're going to stick it to you and you're going to buy it. And then it's going to be called inflation. And instead of us blaming the corporations who are doing the bad deed, who are ripping us off, who are taking that money and giving it to the shareholders and their own bonuses, we then say, look at what Biden has done. Look at what government has done. They play us for fools and we accept it. I'm giving you the info, my dear brothers and sisters, so that the next time you hear somebody says, look at the Biden economy, remind them that these things about the price increases have to do with what corporations are doing to us, not what government's doing to us. What corporations are doing to us willingly to make more money for their shareholders who are sitting their butts down doing something else while we work. It's a most efficient form of what I call antiseptic slavery. Slavery used to be that of people who looked like me, who were out there just because of the melanin that I was decided to be born with. That used to determine slavery. Now it turns out that the corporate state has figured out a better way. We can make us all slaves, irrespective of pigmentation, but we just use pigmentation as a tool to create hate among people so that they don't realize they should be not hating each other, but hating us, the corporate state that's screwing us all. Let's remember these topics, folks. Anyhow, continuing with the report. The report quotes directly from the executives of Kimberly-Clark, PepsiCo, General Mills, Tyson Food, and other major U.S. companies. What's special about those things? You've been seeing your prices at the grocery store go skyrocket and you're getting mad. The government is allowing all these prices to go up. And no. It is Kimberly-Clark who sells you know what. It is PepsiCo who sell drinks. It is General Mills who sell flour, bread, all these things. It is Tyson Foods who sell chicken and all these pork, all these things. It is all these major corporations saying we are going to raise your prices, not because it costs us more. Because remember, in as much as we're paying the employees a little bit more, we're still raising prices irrespective of our costs. It's not like the employment cost is a huge cost of your totality. It is not. Nelson Urdaneta, Kimberly-Clark's chief financial officer, said during the company's earnings call in April that pricing has continued to be the big driver behind one top line growth over the last 3 quarters. Notice again, he said the big driver of their prices, of their stocks increasing in value, of the shareholder value, it's not from doing something new. It's not from creating something new. It's not from earning, but simply from telling you, Americans who are listening to me right now, that we can sucker you and take your money. That is what that statement just said. I repeat, Urdaneta said during the company's earning call. The earning calls is where the big shareholders called into a conference where every quarter the corporations say, all right, people who own us, people who bought shares in these corporations, let me tell you what we're doing for you now. We have increased prices, and going forward, your stock, you're going to get more money from us. And how are you going to get more money? Because they got to tell you what they're doing, right? And they're saying the big driver behind our top line growth over the last 3 quarters was increasing prices. I didn't say that. The government didn't say that. The chief financial officer of Kimberly-Clark told his shareholders that we are increasing the prices. What is increasing prices called? Inflation. You know, you don't hear this on ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, and all these things. They don't quite tell you these things. They just say, oh, increasing prices. Inflation is this. Inflation is that. But inflation doesn't occur magically. Somebody had to increase the prices for some reason. And he is telling you, I am increasing prices so that I can take away the money of middle class and poor America and give it to you. That is what that is saying. I am taking away middle class worth, poor people's worth, and give it to you. Not only their money, but their worth, because they have employees, and those spoils, that increase in price is not going to the employees. It is going to you shareholders. We're ripping off the American shopper. We're ripping off the employees, but the executives and the shareholders are doing just fine. And we take it. You know why we take it? Most of the times, not because we're fools, not because we're gullible. It's because we just don't know. Well, I've just told you. The thing about it, though, is for this to make sense to the rest of America, you have to talk about it. You have to tell your brother, your sister, your mother, your daughter, and everybody else. That is how change is made in the world. That is how change is made in politics. Why do you think they keep us at each other's throat? Because if you are too busy hating on me, you can't sit down and understand how they're screwing you. You gotta hate me, brother. Because if you have some reason to hate me, the people that purportedly are in power, they can do anything to you. Continuing, the company which sells consumer products such as toilet paper and diapers saw its fiscal 2022 net income increase 6.3% year over year to nearly $2 billion and rewarded shareholders with a $1.7 billion in stock buybacks and dividends. Okay, so here's the deal. They increased prices by $2 billion, right? And then they give the shareholders $1.7 billion. People, you get it? That's your money going into, when they talk about wealth transfer and redistribution, we are not a redistribution country. Go work for your money. They just told you that they took your money and gave it to somebody living on the dole. It's thus that the dole this time isn't the government. The dole is, what again? You. They took your money and gave it to the rich folks who own the stocks in those companies. Some people are going to say, well, if you want to be a part of the deal, you can just go ahead and buy stocks. Well, people are so stressed out that 56% of Americans, it used to be 78% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck. Under Biden now, because of all the policies, it's now 56% of people living paycheck to paycheck. Still terrible, but that's what we have. Right? Elect another Republican, you can get back to 78% if you want, because you won't get the services that government is trying to mitigate with support for kids and all these other things. All right. On Tyson's earnings call in February, Chief Financial Officer John Tyson hailed the significant pricing power of our portfolio. Pricing power means we can charge you whatever we want, and as such, we will make more money for you. That's what pricing power, when they talk cost. With a year-to-year increase of 7.6%. Here's what he says again. Significant pricing power of our portfolio with a year-over-year increase of 7.6%. Tyson stressed that the company will continue to support and grow the dividend for our shareholders. What is he telling you? I'm going to keep gouging them because I'm going to keep increasing the amount of money that I'm giving to you. On Tyson's earnings call, that's what he said. According to the Accountable US, Tyson saw its net income increase from $3 billion in 2021 to $3.2 billion in 2022 and rewarded shareholders with a $1.35 billion in handouts, $652 million more than the previous year, including a 948% increase in stock buybacks. That's the story. The article is much longer. I'm not going to go with the article anymore, but you get the gist of what I wanted to tell you about how our system works. Don't allow them to have you blaming those who don't deserve blame for the cataclysmic pricing power that we've allowed these guys to have. Let's remember to put blame where blame belongs and to elect those who can make a difference. spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.